I'm here with Lovhaug, also known as Linkara, and we're here to get a little interview. I think people would like to know a little more. I've got a few questions. I hope you don't mind answering.
I do mind.
Alright, well, first off, your show is very well known for its entertaining storylines. What made you decide to have storylines on your show in the first place, as opposed to just making it a straight review show?
It kind of just evolved over time to include more and more of them. Originally, part of the idea of it was to have another reason for people who want to tune in every week to see if there was another part of the storyline that would be revealed. Because I thought an ongoing mystery would, you know, help build viewers, and people really got invested in it, invested in the storyline behind it, and that just sounds stupid. But anyway, yeah, they just got invested in it, and they enjoyed it, and I enjoy doing it too, kind of as an homage to comic book style ridiculous storylines. So there we are. I
have noticed that you do seem to follow like almost a Saturday morning cartoon, or like the things that you all watched when you were a kid. It seems like.
Oh yeah, everything. These kind of things really do inspire and build on you. I mean, I've talked about this before, but each storyline is based around a nerdy franchise of some kind. The first one was Power Rangers. Second one was Doctor Who. Third one was Pokemon. The shorter one that brought back Lord Vice was based on Star Trek, and I'm not saying what the current one is, but if you look at it closely, you can probably figure it out.
Hints, hints. Okay, that leads into my next question. How far ahead do you plan your storylines?
Fairly far ahead. This is probably right now is the longest I know where I'm not entirely certain what I'm doing after this storyline. I have ideas, and by the end of the storyline, it will have coagulated, or whatever the word is, into a full thing that I plan on doing. But usually I'm about 2 storylines ahead about where I want to go. The Entity storyline I was planning as far back as still early stages of the Lord Vice stuff, because actually the first appearance of the Entity is in the Star Trek Elite Force review. And by appearance I mean you first hear the noise.
That's really far back.
Yeah, mind you, the plans evolve over time. When I first started doing storylines, I thought they would always end on a Power Rangers episode. I thought the fight with Vice was going to be more Power Rangers-esque, and I was going to review the Power Rangers Turbo / Beetleborgs Metallics comic. But then I did the Power Rangers Zeal review where I fought Mechakara, and I was like, I don't want to do another Power Rangers comic right afterwards, so I'll do Doctor Who instead, because the storyline is also about thinking and getting better and using your mind over just sheer fist and brawn. And with the Entity storyline, originally I thought I was going to actually have a battle with it. Mostly I am embarrassed to say this, but the reason why I originally wanted to do the Entity was not to scare people, but because I thought it would be a lot easier to try to edit a fight with an image file than with another version of me.
You do seem to use yourself a lot. There are like, what, 4 or 5 of you now?
It really comes down to a matter of convenience. I'm always available to film my own stuff. With one of the problems we've had with this current storyline is that Will has his own job, has his own stuff going on in his life, so he's restricted by the amount of time he can spend doing Snow Flame or doing the Gunslinger, and that was also a reason why it took so long for the storyline to start. Originally it was going to start back in April, kind of to coincide with the Superman number 701 review where he's walking across America, thus Linkara is walking around everywhere. But that did not come out right, partially because his costume wasn't ready. So we just had to keep putting it off, and then we had to put off a little more because he didn't have time to do it. So that's the other reason why the Gunslinger hasn't quite reappeared yet, but we just filmed right before this, I filmed some more stuff with him. He will be coming back, and we'll learn some more about him, and the storyline will eventually end with him. So that's why I use myself most of the time, because I'm available.
That's pretty much what I do too. Alright, then I think the last question I have right now, well, second to last, if you could go back and change one of your plot elements, like is there something you're not satisfied with, something you would have done differently, what would that be?
Sort of. There's a few things here and there that I tend to correct afterwards. For example, with Lord Vice, I clarified later on with the second Vice storyline that while he didn't, while he claimed to conquer entire universes, really he'd only conquer like one planet in a universe and then move on, but it was more about the reputation and making it easier to conquer future people. With the Entity storyline, the one thing that I would have liked to have changed with that was something that the fans invented. In the comments of a lot of Entity storyline videos, there would be this random gibberish text that people would make, or there was one series once called the Legacies of Chaos or something like that, like transcripts of very Entity-esque Lovecraftian horror stories. And I feel really sad that I didn't think of that, because those were great, and I really wish because I really wanted to play on the alternate reality game, and all the messages that the Entity left in the credits were supposed to give ultimate clues to its identity, and the only one that really didn't was just to indicate that he wasn't Slenderman. The line, "I'm not that thin," because Slenderman was a guess for a lot of people for what he was supposed to be.
That's not a bad guess. I was surprised at the end when it turned out what he was. Alright then, last question I have is, when all is said and done, what is the most satisfying part of your job?
Meeting fans. Seeing them smile. I'm serious. Seeing them smile, making them laugh. I love making people laugh. I love people having enjoyment and having fun, and hearing from people who tell me very dramatic things about their lives, like I saved their life, or I make them feel better about themselves. I don't want to say it because of an ego, like, oh, I did that. No, I do that because if I helped people, if I made them happy, then it's all worth it.
That's a very satisfying thing, it sounds like.
I think so.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I'm really honored that you gave me this interview. So that's all I have to ask. Do you have anything else to say to people who are going to be watching this on nerdvice.com?
Purple hair is cool.
It's natural. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Alright. I'm here with Doug Walker, also known as the Nostalgia Critic. I've got a few questions I'd like to ask you today.
Go for it.
And hopefully you don't mind the clip notes. Alright. First off, there are a lot of fans of the Nostalgia Critic. There are a lot of people who love your show, who love the site. But there are some people who seem to be focused mostly on negativity. What do you do to, combat the trolls, the people who are just being mean to be mean? Do you ever take any of it personally?
The only time I find for me, the only time I take any of it personally is when I've been having a bad day. And it's like when you have those comments on top, it's just like, oh. But for the most part, no, it's not difficult because you sort of know there's more to life than just people sort of leaving comments. I mean, that is what it is. It's people leaving comments. And I guess I just always think, wow, things could be so much worse. I could be like in a country where, I'm not getting food or something, or people are going to war. And it's like, I could be a firefighter. Oh my God, it's like the stress those people have to go through. And it's like, if the worst I have to put up with is people saying, I don't like your videos, suck cock whore, or whatever. It's like, that's really not bad.
Very true. Alright. When you and your brother are writing a typical episode, how many jokes end up in the actual episode, and how many get kind of left behind on the cutting room floor?
A lot. I mean, at least half get in. I'd probably say about 2/3 get in. And then the ones I just feel don't fit or aren't as funny as I remember them, like when we were watching it, I usually cut out. Or even sometimes I'll film them and in editing I'm just like, that joke doesn't work, let me cut that. So about 2/3 of the actual notes that we write down make it in, roughly.
Do you ever have some that you feel work but don't work in that particular episode, so you save them for later?
Yes, there was actually one, what was it? For the Ninja Turtles 3 review, I was asking my brother, I said, I need a word to describe this, and he came up, he got the wrong idea, but I used it later. He came up with super crap of fuck-horrific XP out of bullshit. And I said, that's really funny, but that's not what I need here. I need a word that sounds like a real word that could exist. And then I came up with horribifuckus, but the word, I'm like, but that word's really great. I gotta use that for something. And when Batman Robin came along, I'm like, here we go. And I can turn it into a song and we can have a lot of fun with it.
That worked out then. Okay, another one relating back to fans. What's the most unusual email or comment you've ever received?
Unusual? God.
Like something that just made you stare at your screen and go, what the?
You know, I'll say this, when I was first doing videos on YouTube, and I think I did a 5-second movie that just didn't work and nobody liked it, and I wasn't liking it either. It was the first time I just saw, even though I'm sure it was thrown around a ton before that, it was the first time I saw fail. And I was just like, wow! Fail! Just the word and nothing else. I was just like, oh! And now it's like, everybody uses that. It's a fun word. But the first time I saw it, I was just like, ow!
That's harsh.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, now I use it all the time, too. I think it's hilarious. It's a very funny term, but yeah, it's like the first time I saw it, it like really hurt.
Okay. Then last question. Ultimately, what is your most proud achievement with the things that you've done with, Nostalgia Critic and that guy with the glasses?
You know, anytime I get email or a letter or something like that says, you're really helping me, I've been through something, I'm going through something, I have depression, my relative died, I've been drafted, not drafted, but I'm going to Afghanistan or something like that, and I'm a soldier, and your stuff is my release, your stuff is what helps me get through all this stress and everything. That's the world, man. I mean, that's like the most unbelievable thing ever.
That sounds like it's worth it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great for people who want to get out of their shell and do something with their fandom.
I guess it's for geeks of all nature.
Yeah, exactly. Geeks of all nature.
Go all out. Have fun with it.
Whether you're
really
into
just
tabletop, electronic
gaming. So like some of the older generation gaming, like Commodore 64. You got some really good guest stars, I would guess. So like Doug Walker, the Nostalgia Critics, Antwiler, Spoony, and really come out here. There's a lot of stuff really, and it's a variety of stuff for everybody. Any kind of fandom, any kind of geekhood, I would say. Come out and look at it because it's interesting, and you get to really come out of your shell.
I'm here with Dr. Holocaust, who apparently, according to all sources, is attempting to take over Canada. How are you doing with those plans, Doctor?
Well, I have very recently, and I'm super excited about this, actually invaded and completely conquered a very, some would say small, but I say compact, basement apartment on the Upper East Side, and no, it hasn't been going very well. The invasion in general has been very slow to start, and mainly it's to do with the fact that there's not a lot of money, because people would think, hey, if I go into a bank and I just, raid the vault, that it'll be filled with big bags of money with the money sign on the front of them. They don't do that anymore. Like, they just, it's all electronic, and really, I don't know if you've seen this latest film, but Bane had the right idea of just walking into a place, fiddling with some computers, and then getting a bunch of money as a result of it. Other than the cost effectiveness, I have had some marginal setbacks due to, and surprisingly enough, not other heroes. I have had some marginal setbacks due to other villains that have been getting in my way, chiefly of which being Professor Skull, and I will deal with him in due time.
That sounds very, very trying. What about minions? Do you have anyone to help you in your conquest plans?
I have some minions. Mainly henchmen, though, is where I've been stocking my resources. Ace of Blades, head of operations, is my #1 henchman. He's been doing a very good job of A, keeping his operations running smoothly, and B, killing people that get in the way. And that's fantastic. Like, you really can't ask for a whole lot more out of a henchman, which is success and, getting rid of roadblocks. Minions can be good. They're a little hard to find on occasion because a lot of people have this, like, individuality complex that they've been sort of heaping on from North American culture, chiefly of which when I'm saying, hey, if you want to wear this helmet and this suit and carry these guns, like the 1,000 other people right next to you and just do what I tell you, that's a minion. And they're like, oh yeah, but like, can I have a special badge that has like an individual thing that I can stick on my uniform? No, because you're like Minion 56 or something and you stand in line and you wear your helmet. No one can tell you apart from anyone else other than the numbers that you're wearing. It's the design of it. There's nothing wrong with being a cog in the machine. There's nothing disgraceful about being one of the faceless masses, but it's just so hard to find capable and competent individuals who are dedicated to this kind of war that are willing to be nobody. in the fight for a better world.
Okay, I think got one final question. What are your ultimate goals? Once you take over the world, what are you going to do with it?
Make it better. My goal has and has always been a better world. People wonder why I think that I would do better in a position of power, and I think that is mainly because I am not subject to things like greed. The people also seem to forget that those who are in charge take away their freedoms to give them peace and to protect them. You can't have both. You can have one or the other, freedom or peace. And laws and regulations, especially the ones that we have here in North America, straddle that line in between a comfortable peace and a valued freedom. People have being free to do whatever they want will do bad things, and you're not allowed to do those things. Like, does society not applaud when you take your keys away from your drunk friend so that they don't go drive home? You've taken away that person's freedom to hold peace. And the leaders of these countries have done exactly that. They've created a system that allows people to live in a comfortable medium. However, the people that we have put in charge have become subject to enormous amounts of greed, and I think that the system requires an overhaul. We need to remove them now from their position and put in something better. I have been a firm advocate for a very long time that people simply aren't equal, that there are exceptional few among our race which are thrown to the wayside due to something as stupid as whether or not they were born with money, or whether or not they were born to a specific culture. I don't think that's right. Hell, take the film Iron Man 2, for example. Tony Stark was born as a white male in North America with loads of money. He had nothing standing in the way of his infinite genius to create whatever he wanted. Ivan Vanko, same thing, white male, born in a communist country in like the worst part of Russia with no money. He had nothing. So he got nowhere and became this bad person. They like to blame that on the fact that, you know, one person had money and the other didn't. And that's a load of hogwash. What I plan to do once I am in charge is do things like abolish borders. Get rid of the different countries, because frankly at the end of the day we're all people and we could really learn from each other as long as we stop trying to segregate from one another. And competency examinations is going to be something. Is going to be a way that I'm going to do that, a way to reward the exceptional members of humanity, and that will do things like test logic, reasoning, mathematics, sciences, physical aptitude, agility, and just give you a general rounding onto how good of a person you are. Because some people really excel in one area where they lack in another, so they even out as a person. There are people like Dolph Lundgren, who's this tall, Aryan, muscular person who's got actually a higher IQ than Stephen Hawking, which people don't know because he's an actor. Exceptional members of society, in my opinion, should be rewarded for being exceptional. Not for the different things that they've done, but for being higher members, just in general. I mean, how many times have you been in line at the grocery store and the person in front of you just can't figure out how to use the debit machine? You get angry about that, don't you? And that's not polite, but there it is. And I have woken up to a world filled with people who can't use debit machines. People who clog our society and our system because they just don't know. They don't bother. And I plan to change that. I plan to fix that. And that's what I'll do.
Alright, I'm here with Noah Antwiler, also known as the Spoony one. I have a few questions for you today. I hope you won't mind answering them.
Sure, no, I feel bad because originally today I was wearing the exact same outfit, so I had to go run and change real fast.
We can't both wear the same dress to the prom.
Oh, you do pull off the corset better. Slightly.
Alright, my first question. Was Pumpkinhead your most difficult review ever, or were there ones that were even worse in terms of difficulty or just frustration?
Pumpkinhead, no. I mean, well, In terms of being able to finish the game, yeah. Like, that game was so impossibly hard, yeah, but Lord Cat helped me get a lot of footage. Probably the worst game to get footage for was the Highlander one on the Jaguar CD, just because that console is legendary for being impossible to get working at all, you know. I was very lucky to find a console that worked, and then immediately after I got the footage I needed, it broke completely. So it almost like it sensed its mission was done.
It gave up the ghost then.
Yeah.
Okay, and then... Sorry. Alright, is there anything that you'd like to review that you haven't been able to, either due to difficulty or just you don't have the time?
Anything I'd like to review that is difficult? Not really. I'm pretty well set up to get, like, there's nothing in terms of, like, challenging consoles to get footage off of, or movies that are hard to, well... Highlander 2 was really hard because, first off, I wasn't equipped to get VHS tapes until very recently, and all the versions you have on DVD are not the original version. It's almost like, it really has like it's been erased from existence, that movie, because they cut the aliens out of every single version of that. But on the horizon, Ultima 9 was rough. It still is, because that game crashed all the time. And so a lot of times the footage I get will be corrupted because the file crashed, and you can't just end a video file, like, you know. So I had to run a bunch of file recovery stuff on that. Yeah, that was probably the hardest, but yeah.
Okay. Then, okay. Do you think being a very well-known reviewer has changed your life? And
oh, yeah.
For the negative or the positive?
Oh, positive. Trust me, because before this I worked an office job, and I probably would have gone postal long before this. Yeah, I mean, I do what I love, and it's amazing I can still do this as a job, so it's definitely positive. I mean, it's come at the expense of the social life, but it's not like I had much to give up anyway. No, yeah, I mean, I've always said the scariest movie I've ever seen was Office Space. Like, legitimately, it's a horror film, it's not a comedy. Because you ask anyone who works in a white-collar job, it's pretty true. Like, and that's scary. And when I went to my white-collar job, that was it. Like, it got to the point where they micromanage you, you know. I was filling out, they had this thing now where they had to account for time, like what you were doing, and you had to account for your time to every 10 minutes. I was spending more time accounting for my time than actually getting any work done, so yeah, compared to that, just about anything would be better, and better yet, I could play video games and bitch about them and curse a lot.
Okay, and leading into that then, do you ever get recognized in real life? Are you ever out, like, in your bathroom buying milk at the supermarket and somebody's, oh my god, it's Noah Antwiler?
Rarely. I've been recognized at home, like Mesa, twice. Once I was just coming out of McDonald's and somebody was like, Spoony! Like, I don't know. And the first one that made sense, that was, I was at a GameStop, and two girls working the counter recognized me, which was honestly pretty weird. I had never been recognized before, but at conventions I get recognized all the time. I guess obviously because they know I'm going to be there. But yeah, usually not on the street. Not very. It's Mesa.
Okay. And what do you think you'd be doing right now if being a reviewer hadn't taken off?
What would I be doing? Data entry, call centers. Yeah, because computer science degree ain't cutting it. You know, it's tough. I would tell someone getting into college not to do computer science because outsourcing is so prevalent now. The best, you know, it's just common where, like, if I have a master's degree, at minimum I charge more money than people in China or India. You know, it's just a common thing. So given the choice, they're not going to hire you unless it's grunt work, unless it's answering phones. So yeah, I'd probably be doing that. Dry clicking a revolver into my mouth at night. Yeah, it would be bad. I'm just not cut out for all. I mean, I would actually rather work construction than. Not that construction's a bad job. I'm just saying, like, I would rather be outside working with my hands than dealing with office politics. That's what I'd be doing.
Okay, that's all I've really got. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add for viewers?
How do you do that with your hair?
It's natural.
Oh.
It just grows this way.
Okay, so you come from the anime dimension. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's all I had.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
No, thank you for interviewing.
So, ConBravo began now 3 years ago, and it was originally sort of a pet project. We wanted to do something as friends to give back to the community, and it became bigger and bigger of an idea one that no one was behind this at first. There was like a convention that takes like thousands of people. How are we ever going to do that? There's like 5 of us. And by the time first year had rolled around, we had gone together about 8 staff and a bunch of volunteers and friends, and we put it on in Oakville. And the idea was that we wanted to have a convention that wasn't Toronto-centric. It was a little bit west or east, and we chose west because it was just more feasible and more of us could get out there. And we knew that there was a geek community out there who frequently had to go to Toronto all the way to be served. So what we preferred was giving that community some place to congregate, which has obviously become a thing now. And at first it was really small. We did about 325, maybe 350 in the first year, which, you know, it's decent, but pretty tight-knit and quiet. And what came out of that was we realized we had a really efficient team, we had a really good way of doing things, and a lot of our volunteers were very informed and kept up to date. We had a good system. And then for second year, what emerged was that it really grew out of proportion, growing 300%. Mostly because we learned how to publicize it, and how to get guests, and how to network, and how to do these things. And from there it's sort of been history making, and we realized it's not who you are, it's who you know. And it became a really good relationship. It still is, and we hope for it to be a good relationship for many years, and put us in contact with Channel Awesome, and it put us in contact with the Angry Video Game Nerd, and a whole slew of other people. And we've really grown out of that. You know, like, we've a nice network of contacts now. And what it's done for us is, where originally we wanted to just do something that was, let's say, general geek, now we're able to offer something that's more concrete, more articulate. We have new media, which, you know, that's the critics, and that's the people who are doing new styles of journalism. We do gaming, obviously. We try to turn everything into a fun game. And then we have anime, which, you know, it's become a catch-all term, but we do mean it for the cosplayers and for people who are fans of Japanese culture, and we're incorporating more and more of that. We try to have a really strong cosplay scene. And having guests like Doug Walker, and having guests like James Rolfe, and having guests like Linkara and Spoony and so forth, it's really cultured that. And we're glad that we can bring that a little ahead of the curve. We're one of the only cons up in Canada that does this sort of thing. We're glad we can give the community that, and we don't need to live in Toronto to be visited. We can be anywhere, and it's become half con will travel for our attendees. So.